if I'm just doing things normally, right, this is the atria. But when I'm working really hard, this auricle will fill up. So so what chamber is this?
The right atrium.
Right atrium. Okay. Sometimes they say atria, but atria is plural. Okay. All right. Now it goes in. Now there's. Well, let me see. They might be showing some things here. No, they're not. Now, when you look at this atria, if we cut an atria apart, you're not going to be able to see the SA node and the AB node, because that's where they are, right? SA node is in the upper part of the right atria. AB node's in the little bottom part. That's part of the conducting system. It can get kind of difficult because we're talking about two different things, right? We're talking about the blood movement. We're also talking about the conducting system. The thing is, they show you pictures in your book like these things stick out like a sore thumb, except they don't. Okay, but here's my atria. Down here is my ventricle. So what goes from the atria to the ventricle?
The valve.
Which valve?
Don't tell us. The
Name it. If you name it and you name it exactly, it'll tell you a lot.
The atrium.
Atrial ventricular valve. Well, what kind of valve is it?
Tricuspid.
The tricuspid. Okay, atrial ventricular valve. That tells me that you know almost everything about it. You know where it's at between the atria and the ventricle, and it's tricuspid. It's got 3 cusps. Okay, and here's the idea. Here are the cusps. Okay, these little things right here, 1, 2, 3, are the cusps, like little flaps. Okay, and again, they're run by muscles. So here's the actual cusp. These little things right here are the chorda tendineae, which basically means tendinous cords. And they are attached to muscles. These are called papillary muscles. What happens is those papillary muscles contract. They pull these chorda tendineae tight so that when the ventricle contracts, it doesn't make the valve prolapse, go backwards. Because that's what's going to want to do. If these things don't work, that's what happens. Because when your heart, there's 2 openings here. Okay, let's talk about this. What opening, or what comes out of the right ventricle?
Pulmonary trunk.
The pulmonary trunk, right there. What's at the bottom of the pulmonary trunk?
The valve. Pulmonary valve.
The pulmonary.
Tricuspid. No.
They call it the pulmonary. Well, actually, you're right. It is a tricuspid, but sometimes that can be confusing. The pulmonary tricuspid semilunar valve. You're actually correct. Pulmonary, tell me where it's at. Tricuspid, tell me how many. Semilunar, right? Because the semilunar tells me what type of valve it is. So it's semilunar. There are no muscles attached to it. Here, this tricuspid valve here has muscles attached to it. Okay, so that's a pulmonary one. Goes out, right? Pulmonary trunk. Goes here, go here. What are these called?
Pulmonary vein.
Pulmonary.
Vessel.
Pulmonary.
Vein. Artery.
Pulmonary arteries.
Oh, just kidding.
Why are they arteries? Because they're going away. I want you to get out of your head that arteries only have oxygenated blood. It depends on where they're coming from. These are arteries away. Okay? Away. Going to the lungs. Right? Now they come back. What are they coming back through? What are these things right here?
Those are the pulmonary veins.
Pulmonary veins. Because they're coming from the pulmonaries and they're going to the heart. So it's a vein. Goes into the left atria. Now this happens to be the auricle, but it's the same sort of thing. What do we have here? The atrial ventricular valve. What type of valve is it?
Bicuspid.
Bicuspid. The atrial ventricular bicuspid, because there's only 1, 2 cusps on it. It's also called the what?
Something that starts with an
Mitral. Nobody ever says bicuspid valve. A doctor's going to say mitral valve, because mitral is easier to say than bicuspid. Mitral valve, and it's just because of its shape. It's shaped like a mitral hat that bishops wear. Okay, so it's that. Now, right now, I have my left side. My heart contracts. How come it's not there? Oh, there it is right there. There it is right there. Right? What's that?
The aortic valve.
Aortic semi-lunar valve. I'm just giving you ways to help you understand. That tells me you know everything about it. You know it's in the aorta. You know it's semi-lunar. You know it's a valve. It's an aortic semi-lunar valve. And I want you to notice the orientation there, right? They really look like this. Okay? Whoops, I got them backwards, don't I?
Yes.
Back this way. They look like this. The pulmonary trunk is in front. The aorta is behind. They kind of cross over each other. A lot of drawings don't show that very well because it's kind of hard to see. But you show it goes now. Okay, now it goes out of the aorta, up the what?
The
Ascending aorta.
Aortic arch.
Arch, aortic arch, or arch of the aorta. Same thing. We have some major branches here.
That's the
Oh, brachiocephalic.
Brachiocephalic. Because again, I want you to understand, brachiocephalic tells you what it supplies. The brachia and the cephalic, my head. Okay, this one?
That's the left. That's the B word.
Left, common, carotid.
And then right coming.
No.
No.
And
I'm
then
going left.
And then the left. No.
Oh,
Subclavian?
Subclavian. Left subclavian. And then somewhere, actually, off this subclavian, there's actually a branch for the vertebral part. Okay. Later on, the vertebral branch for the left side comes up, but you don't see it here. Just like over here, on this side, there's, what happens to this one over here? This brachiocephalic trunk, what's it do? One of them goes up, and it becomes the right common carotid, right? Because each one of those branches into internal and external. And then a little while after that, there's another branch, it's a vertebral artery, right? That goes up to the posterior part of my brain, and then it continues on into axillary, right? So axillary, the thing is, like I said, what happens with brachiocephalic trunk is if it branches, it has a totally different name. But what happens is it kind of continues along. You better look at my arm as a brachiocephalic trunk. Okay, I got my brachiocephalic trunk here. Okay, so this is a brachiocephalic trunk, but all of a sudden here, now it's the subclavian, right? And then at this point, it's the axillary. But there's no room. The branches only happen what? Here, I come up and I got my right common carotid and my internal and external branch, right? And then a little over here, once this is subclavian, then I got a branch for my vertebral. So you understand how they, like I said, it's not like when it goes from here's what I want my point. When it goes from subclavian to axillary to brachial, there's no branch. At this point, it's subclavian. At this point, it's axial. At this point, it's brachial. Now, do we need to know exactly where that is? No, I don't expect you to know that. I mean, surgeons and stuff have to know these things, but the average practitioner doesn't know exactly where that is, and they don't need to know exactly where it is. I just want you to understand they're not branches. Okay, so that helps there. Let's look at some stuff out here. All right, we're looking at a little bit of stuff here, right? What do we have? What do we have right? Let's do this right there. I can't point very well. My fingers are too fat. Right there. Now they're on the outside, so they are coronary arteries and cardiac veins. So this is the left coronary artery because it's on the left side. Notice where it's coming from. You can't really tell where it's coming from, but it's actually coming from down in here. Okay, in these semilunar valves. Like here's my little semilunar valve, right? There's one pocket of my semilunar valve. One of those has a little gap in it. I can't make my fingers do that. It has a gap in it like that. That's the sinus. When my heart stops contracting, the blood runs down that sinus. Once it comes out like this, it's the left coronary artery. My left coronary artery has some branches. This is the interventricular, or the left anterior descending, or the anterior interventricular artery. I know it's confusing, but it's all the same thing. Left anterior descending, anterior interventricular artery, LAD, different names for exactly the same thing. Okay, and then the one that goes across here is called the circumflex artery. That supplies the muscles of my heart. All right, now we go over here, and they're showing one right here, a little different looking. It's the right coronary artery. Then it goes into this, which is the posterior interventricular artery, or the right posterior descending. So, again, that just shows that those are the only coronary arteries I expect you to know. What do we have back here? Nothing that we can really see. Okay, so that makes